Chapter 17. With savage glee, the humidity decided to turn into a cold, ugly rain. Quillerin hurried to the Blue Dragon as fast as his knee would permit. "I'm going to do some illegal scrounging tonight," he announced to Mary Duckworth. "Ben Nicholas is going to show me the ropes." "Where is he taking you?" "To an old theater on Zwinger Street. He said it's boarded up, but he knows how to get in through the stage door. All I want is the experience, so I can write a piece about the preservationists who risk arrest to salvage historic architectural fragments. I think the practice should be publicized with a view to having it sanctioned." Mary beamed her admiration for him. "Quill, you're talking like a confirmed junker. You've been converted." "I know a good story when I see one, that's all. Meanwhile, would you mind lending me the manuscript of Andy's novel? Mrs. McGuffey was telling me about it, and since it's all about Junktown—" "Manuscript? I have no manuscript." "Mrs. McGuffey said—" "Andy allowed me to read the first chapter. That was all." "What happened to it then?" "I have no idea. Robert Mouse would know." "Will you phone him?" "Now?" Quillerin nodded impatiently. She glanced at the tall case clock. "This is an inconvenient time to call. He'll be preparing dinner. Is it really so urgent?" Nevertheless, she dialed the number. "William," she said, "may I speak with Mr. Mouse? Please tell him it's Mary Duxbury. That's what I was afraid of. Just a moment." She turned to Quillerin. "The houseboy says Bob is making hollandaise for the kohlrabi and can't be interrupted. Tell him the Daily Fluxion is about to print a vile rumor about one of his clients." The attorney came to the telephone. Quillerin could visualize him, wearing an apron, holding a dripping spoon, and said he knew nothing about a manuscript. Nothing had turned up among the papers of the Andrew Glanz estate. "Then where is it?" Quillerin asked Mary. "Do you suppose it was destroyed? By someone who had reason to want it suppressed? What was in the chapter that you read?" "It was about a woman who was plotting to poison her husband. It immediately captured one's interest." "Why didn't Andy let you read more?" "He was quite secretive about his novel. Don't you think most writers are sensitive about their work before it's published?" "Perhaps all the characters were drawn from life. Mrs. McGuffey seemed to think they were wildly imaginary, but I doubt whether she's in a position to know. She's lived a sheltered life. Perhaps Andy's story exposed a few Junktown secrets that would prove embarrassing or incriminating." "He wouldn't have done anything like that. Andy was so considerate." Quillerin clenched his teeth. So considerate, so honest, so clever, so intelligent. He knew it by heart. "Perhaps you were in the story too," he told Mary. "Perhaps that's why Andy wouldn't let you read farther. You may have been so transparently disguised that your position would be revealed and your family would crack down on you." Mary's eyes flashed. "No! Andy would never have been so unkind." "Well, we'll never know now." Quillerin started to leave, and then turned back. "You know this Hollis Prance? He says he used to be in the paint and wallpaper business, and he retired because of a weak heart. And yet he's as agile as a fox. He was varnishing display cases when I was there today." "Varnishing?" Mary asked. "He said he was getting ready for the block party tomorrow, and yet he has very little merchandise to offer." "Varnishing on a day like this? It will never dry. If you varnish in damp weather, it remains sticky forever." "Are you sure?" "It's a fact. You may think it's dry, but whenever the humidity is high, the surface becomes tacky again." Quillerin huffed into his mustache. "Strange mistake to make, isn't it?" "For someone who claims he's been in the paint business," Mary said. It's an incredible mistake." Later, the rain turned to a treacherous, wet snow as fine as fog, and Quillerin went to a cheap clothing store in the neighborhood to buy a red hunting cap with ear flaps. He also borrowed the Cobb flashlight and crowbar in preparation for his scrounging debut. But first, he had an invitation to drop in on Russell Patch at the cocktail hour to hear the $20,000 sound system. He went home and trussed Coco in the blue harness. The leash had unaccountably disappeared, but it was not necessary for a social call. The harness alone made Coco look trim and professional, and it afforded a good grip while Quillerin was carrying the cat down the street. "This trip," he explained to his purring accomplice, "is not purely in the pursuit of culture. I want you to nose around and see if you can turn up anything significant." The carriage house was 2 doors away, and Quillerin tucked Coco inside his overcoat to keep him dry. They entered through the refinishing shop, and their host led them up a narrow stairway to a dazzling apartment. The floor was a checkerboard of large black and white tiles, and a dozen white marble statues on white pedestals were silhouetted against the walls, some of which were painted dull black, some shiny red. Russell introduced his roommate, a sallow young man who was either shy or furtive, and who wore on his finger a diamond of spectacular brilliance, and Quillerin introduced Coco, who was now riding on his shoulder. Coco regarded the 2 strangers briefly and dismissed them at once by turning and staring in the opposite direction. The music that filled the room was the busy kind of fiddling and tootling that made Quillerin nervous. It came at him from all directions. "Do you like Baroque music?" Russ asked. "Or would you prefer another type?" "Coco prefers something more soothing," Quillerin replied. "Stan, put on that Schubert sonata." The sound system occupied a bank of old kitchen cabinets transformed into an Italian Renaissance breakfront, and Coco immediately checked it out. "Stan, make us a drink," Russell ordered. "Say, that cat isn't vicious at all. I heard he was a wild one." "If you also heard that I'm a private eye, it's a lie," said Quillerin. "Glad of that. I'd hate to see anyone loafing around Junktown digging up dirt. We've worked hard to build a good image here." "I dug up an interesting fact, however. I learned your friend Andy was writing a novel about Junktown." "Oh, sure," said Russ. "I told him he was wasting his time. Unless he'd dish out a lot of sex. Who buys novels?" "Maybe he did just that. Had you read the manuscript?" Russ laughed. "No, but I can guess what it was like. Andy was a prune, a real prune. The funny thing is that the manuscript has disappeared. He probably scrapped it. I told you how he was, a perfectionist." Quillerin accepted the ginger ale he had requested and said to Stan, "Are you in the antique business?" "I'm a hairdresser," Stan said quietly. "A lucrative field, I hear." "I do all right." Russ volunteered. "If you want to know what really keeps him in Jaguars and diamonds, he plays the stock market." "Are you interested in the market?" Stan asked the newsman. "To tell the truth, I've never had anything to invest, so I've never made a study of it." "You don't have to know much," Stan said. "You can go in for no-load mutuals or do like me. I have a discretionary account, and my broker doubles my money every year." "You mean that?" Quillerin lighted his pipe thoughtfully. He was making a computation. If he won one of the Fluxions' top prizes, he could run it up to 2, 4, 8, 16, 32,000 in 5 years. Perhaps, after all, he was wasting his time trying to make murders out of molehills. As for Coco, he had checked the place out, and was now lounging near a heat register, ignoring the Schubert. "Say, I'd like to try something," Russ said. "I've got some electronic music that hits the high frequencies. White noise, computer music, synthesized sound, and all that. Let's see if the cat reacts. Animals can hear things beyond the human range." "Okay with me," Quillerin said. The Schubert came to an end, and then the 36 speakers gave out a concert of whines and whinnies, blats and bleeps, flutterings and tweeterings that baffled the eardrums. At the first squawk, Coco pricked up his ears, and in a moment he was on his feet. He looked bewildered. He ran across the room, changed course, and dashed back erratically. "He doesn't like it," Quillerin protested. The music slid into a series of hollow whispers and echoes with pulsing vibrations. Coco raced across the room and threw himself against the wall. "You'd better turn it off." "This is great," Russ said. "Stan, did you ever see anything like this?" From the speakers came an unearthly screech. Coco rose in the air, faster than the eye could register, and landed on top of the stereo cabinets. "Turn it off!" Quillerin shouted above the din. It was too late. Coco had swooped down again, landing on Russ Patch's head, digging in with his claws, until the bellow that came from the man's throat sent him flying through space. Russ touched his hand to his temple and found blood. "Serves you right," said Stan quietly, as he flipped the switch on the stereo. Moments later, when Quillerin took Coco home, the cat was outwardly calm, but the man could feel him trembling. "Sorry, old boy," he said. "That was a dirty trick." He carried Coco back to his apartment and set him gently on the floor. Yum Yum came running to touch noses, but Coco ignored her. He had a long drink of water, then stood on his hind legs and clawed Quillerin's trousers. The man picked him up and walked the floor with him until it was time to leave for his next appointment. Locking the cats in the apartment, he started for the stairway, but the long, forlorn howl behind the closed door tore at his heart. As he went slowly down the stairs, the cries became louder and more piteous, and all Quillerin's regrets about Coco's self-sufficiency vanished. The cat needed him. Inwardly elated, Quillerin returned and gathered up his eager friend and took him to call on Clothra.